Look.
Oh, they look so good together.
Living with my eyes closed, knowing day to day. I never knew the difference. I never cared either way. Looking for a reason, searching for a sign, reaching out with both hands. I gotta feel the kick inside. Oh, fire! Ain't nobody living in a perfect world. Everybody's out there crying to be heard. But I got a new fire burning my heart, lighting up the darkness and moving like a meteorite. Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire, fire, fire! Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe. Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire! Oh, fire, fire, fire! Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith.
We ready, Jim? Welcome to ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie, and this is going to be an outstanding, very blessed show. That's the word that's coming to me. Blessed show. I love the way that God kind of ties things together and intertwines things. I mean, it's just a strong confirmation that there's a higher power out there, and that higher power controls things. And actually, like, I was watching this movie on the Hallmark Channel, and I think it's called 24 Hours a Day, 27 Hours a Day, and it was about this woman that was driven, and all she did was work, and she never took time to enjoy her life. And through this process, she learned to enjoy her life and listen to her inner guidance, and it was a blessed show, and it really ties into this show about brain traumas. We have a wonderful guest today, that Judy, of course, booked for the show, Dr. Dina. And Dr. Dina is very close to Patty Foster, who we had on the show a month or so ago. And a quick history, and I'll let everybody else tell the story about Patty because I'm not very good at details. But Patty Foster was the miracle that happened in a car accident. There was 5 people in that car. There was 4 adults, and there was 1 baby in utero. And they got hit by a car, and they all died except for Patty. And Patty's here to tell the story of her faith and how prayer works, and really it's just a blessing. And Dina, Dr. Dina, works in brain traumas, and she has this wonderful website which has a 1 minute of hope, which really drew me in to the grace. But then there's a bigger picture for this to me, that Dr. Jim Henry, who has been on our show many times, he's a partner with us, and we're actually looking to work with him in the future. We're have a project going on that he always sends me people that I need to keep in my prayer, on my prayer circle. And about 20 days ago, he sent me a family that he's very close to, the Silvas. And Marianne had a brain trauma. She had, I think it was an aneurysm. And for 19 days, they have been praying and praying and praying. Her name is Marianne. They've been praying and praying and praying. And I followed it on Facebook, and I followed it with Jim's text messages he sent me every day, an update on her, that people were standing outside of her hospital at St. Joseph's Hospital in Patterson. They were praying and singing and really honoring her and her faith, and really praying that she would make it through. She didn't make it as far as her life. She went to heaven. She passed on. They had to make the really tough decision to take her off of life support after it was determined that she had no brain function. So I just really wanted to honor her today, because one of her prayers and one of her legacies is to have faith. And I really thought that it was really important on this day that we're going to continue talking about brain traumas, thanks to Judy so much, that we honor her and we just share the message for Marianne Silva, that to have faith. She believed in Jesus Christ, and that is her faith. And if you long to look for Jesus, you can, like Joel Osteen says, find a Bible-based church in your area or online now. But really, we're going to talk later on with Dr. Dina and Judy and Jim. He's back in the Long Island studio, about just having faith. You have to have faith in life. So Joe and your children and Marianne, I know you're watching over them, because Dr. Dina and I were talking about before about God speaking to our hearts and hearing them. So we hope that you will, I'm sure that with your faith, and I got to tell you, I was watching Joe, Marianne's husband, on a Facebook Live post that he did from her room. his spirit was so alive and powerful, and he hung on to that faith. And life is hard. Life is really, 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 really hard, especially during these times. And you have to hold on to something, because people are people and we're going to make mistakes. And you have to hold on to your faith to know that you have to pray through it. You have to get through it. You have to forgive people. And that is, it's a challenge. And Dr. Dina and I and Judy and I talk about it all the time, that it's really hard. It's not an easy road to go down, but that harder road is a blessed road. It's a better road. So thank you so much. And we'll keep Marianne and the whole Silva family in our prayers, family and friends. And thank you, Dr. Jim, for keeping us informed. So anyway, so that's my story for today. But Judy, thank you for doing this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show. Like you always
You're
tie them,
welcome.
you always somehow tie them together without knowing that you're tying them together.
I
Right?
try.
You're doing your God work. So thank you so much. Dr. Dina, it is a blessing to have you on the show today. Like I said, you just heard me talk about the circle of life and the way God works through us and everything. Judy, you want to introduce Dr.
Yes,
Dina?
certainly.
You were the one that connected us.
Dr. Deanna Adams is the Executive Director of Hope Behavioral Health, PLLC, a private practice specializing in issues such as trauma, anxiety, mood disorders, and traumatic brain injuries. As a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, Dr. Adams supervises new counselors as they work with individuals and families addressing mental health issues and traumatic brain injury. Dedicated to spreading brain injury awareness, as the president and founder of Hope After Brain Injury, Dr. Adams speaks nationally and internationally, sharing research and insight of how to effectively treat and facilitate successful rehabilitation for those affected with brain injuries. Hope After Brain Injury is the only faith-based nonprofit organization for brain injury in the United States.
Wow.
Their mission is to educate, encourage, equip those in the brain injury community to effectively cope with the issues associated with this devastating injury. And I advise all to visit hopeafterbraininjury.org for more information. Thank you. It's
Wow.
our pleasure to introduce Dr. Deanna Adams.
Thank you,
Thank-
Judy.
It is, it's a blessing. And, we'll get into how you got into the field in a little bit, but we really need to go towards, you're the only faith-based brain injury in the United States. That says a lot. That says a lot. How did you know that when you were beginning it?
No, I didn't know that at all. But, as I was praying about, okay, God, I realized that, brain injury survivors so many times need a lot of help, but they can't always formulate the way to do that. And so I decided, that I'll just start Hope After Brain Injury. And it's based out of a Corinthians verse, which basically says that we comfort others in the way that God comforted us. And then when that was in 2011, and then I realized when I was, doing the research and establishing it, there wasn't any faith-based in the U.S. I'm hoping one day somebody will correct me and say, but there's another one. That would be great. But right now, that's it. And to my knowledge, in the world, honestly, but all I know is the U.S. right now.
Yeah, I didn't know that you had to be designated as faith-based. Our organization is just faith-based by um, a work ethic and how we speak and how we, so do you have to be designated as faith-based?
When you apply for the nonprofit section, and at least in the state of Texas, that's part of the designation.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I mean, I was just trying to get things done, you
Yeah.
know. And I know it had to do with God because, we applied in December and we were honored in July. So to get it in that amount of time, it was like, okay, God wants us. Okay, do it. Okay, thank you. So I just knew, it was meant to be. It was meant to be. So how did you, I was talking about the 1 minute of hope. What was your thought on that? Like who thought of that? Why did you think of it? And who reads the stories? Who does the
Narration.
speaking? Yeah.
I was doing my devotion one morning, and I was with Anne Graham Lotz, and she has a little audio piece about one. It just takes 1 minute. I can't remember what she said, what it was, but I thought that's perfect for brain injury because the attention span's not very long and the memory's not very long, but they need the encouragement. And so I decided, well, and I've always loved writing devotions. And so I said, oh, we'll just do 1 minute of hope. And Patty Foster, who's a previous radio personality, has this wonderful velvet voice. And I said, would you please record these for me in your professional manner? And so she does that. And then we post them on her website, my website, the Hope After Brain Injury, and then my private practice website. So it's fun. And we just love doing it.
Wow.
Thank you for appreciating it, by the way.
Oh my gosh, there was one that Grace, and everything in your life has to do with reflection. Like, I really try to reflect on how I did that day because I really, the one thing I've always told everybody is the last thing I ever want to do is hurt anybody. That's I mean, sometimes you say things, you text things that, like, I mean, in life, you don't know, that you're hurting, but the last thing you want to do is hurt anybody. So I always try to reflect on how my day went, and the truth is, one of the things that you'll probably agree with me on, and Judy as well, is you have to forgive yourself, because if you made a mistake, and the one thing that Dominic Cortellessa told me, who's a mentor of mine, is when you've done that and you've made mistakes, and you've not acknowledged that you've made mistakes, you've realized that the one thing you could do is always go back. Yeah. Always go back and fix and say you're sorry and fix the things that you've done wrong. And I've learned in my life, and that in my world, that whether the person acknowledges it or not, or accepts it, you've done what you needed to do in your life to move on, So yeah,
that's a great truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, nice to know that.
So how do you think that because brain traumas, like at a point I had a brain trauma, right? And I couldn't think or process. I mean, most people would think that a stroke and the aphasia is only the speaking, but I believe that there's different forms of aphasia, and I couldn't think or process, especially when I got very tired, Dr. Dina. When I got very tired, and this was many years later, and I didn't realize why I couldn't understand or process. I can understand, but I couldn't process what they were saying to me. So how do you think that these 1 minute clips from Patty, who has just this, you had the perfect word for velvet voice, velvet voice. She has a velvet voice. And what I like is, and we'll get back to 1 second, what I like is what I found in my life. Most people think when you're loud, you're heard, but when you're soft, you're heard better. When you're
right.
soft. And that's the way I always understood people, when they spoke to me quietly and calmly. And she just has this velvet voice.
She has the enthusiasm because she's been there with a brain injury.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you think it touches people? What's been the response to it?
Comfort mostly, and encouragement, because we don't, in this fast-paced world, especially in American society, we don't have time to sit around and listen to, hours and hours of things. And so I get a lot of comments, oh, I needed that today. Oh, thank you so much, not only just from brain injury, anybody really. And that's been a huge affirmation for both of us, that we can do something and put it out on the internet, just like what you guys are doing. And one thing I want to share with you, Renee, is one of the problems that you have, and I want you to hear this, is that you look normal.
Yes.
And so the problem with that is people think you are normal, and you are extraordinary, actually. And I tell
I
people,
second that.
yeah, that's right. I often tell people,
But I want to cut in. It's not me. I'm just learned to channel God. I'm
right.
doing his work. It's not me. So the honor that you're giving to me, I'm thanking you for God, because it's his work that I'm doing. It's not me. I can't take the credit for it. It's him. So go ahead.
Right. Are y'all familiar with Corrie ten Boom? Did you ever read The Hiding Place? She hid Jews in the Holocaust, and she was actually released a week before everybody her age were exterminated or killed. And she would say, after every talk, people would say, oh, thank you so much. And, kind of what I just did for you. And she said, I just took them at the end of the day as a bouquet of flowers, and I lifted them back to the Lord, and I gave it to him because he deserves it. And so that was cool that you did that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Because I know that there's a higher power, and I know that God's there. And, and like what I love is how you speak, because, when I speak about having a conversation, relationship with God, or listening to God, or, it's in my heart, this is what God is telling me, that most people look at me like most people look at me cross-eyed, like, like, what is she talking about? Like,
Renee, just share with Dr. Dina, when you had the stroke, how you spoke with God.
I told her in the Zoom green room, but I'll share it with everybody since when I had my stroke, I was walking across the third base. I was coaching softball, because softball is my passion, and softball and singing. And when I was coaching third base and walking across into the first base dugout, I just felt and I was 6 months after having my daughter Brittany. So my daughter with Brittany was there. Somebody was holding her, and I just got to the bench, and I just said I need help, and my body rose up. I watched everything happening below me, and I looked up and saw the light, which was God, and I said, I don't want to go. And God said, I don't want to take you. I just always want you to remember you have to work for me. And then I said, whatever you want, just put me back down. Just because I was so filled with life. There was so much more that I know I needed to do in life. So he put me back down. And what I was saying to Dr. Dina before was, like, when I got put back down, it wasn't like, oh, I was a new person, I got up. Like,
No.
I had so many struggles and so many challenges that I had to go through to get to where I am today. That it was difficult. It was really, really, really difficult. A lot of joyous times, a lot of hard times. But it was really, but that's why I say that I know that my purpose is higher. I know that this is not about me, to serve others, to help others, to do this. And, I'm hard on myself. I'm very hard on myself. I'm hard on myself because, like, I used to be a perfectionist. You got to do this, you got to do that, you have to do this. And I've learned, my mother taught me this. My mother was one of the persons that said this to me, and Dominic Cordelessa, just do your homework, prepare, and then you just give it to God and let him lead the way. So it's not like you could just sit here and we could do this show with no preparation because God is going to do it for us. No, we have to do the work. And that was one of the reasons that one of the hospitals had me as an ambassador, because I can go into a room and share with a stroke patient that you'll be okay, but you have to do the work. You have to want to do it. I needed to plant that seed in them to let them know, you'll go through, you're allowed to feel the way you feel, but there's got to come a point where you have to get your back up and you have to
have the determination
Great
and
word.
the positive attitude that you are going to get better.
Yeah.
And you got to work hard at the physical therapy, the speech therapy, all the therapies to recover.
Yeah.
And only you can do it.
And Judy always says, you have to surround yourself with support.
Positive
right?
people.
Right. I mean, Dina, I mean, we always tell people that, in life you have to prepare, like you have to prepare with your will, and you have to prepare for, what's it called, for someone to be your medical sign, power of attorney. You have to be. So we always tell people you have to surround yourself with people. What do you talk about when you go out and you keynote speak, or you talk publicly? What is it that you share with everybody?
One of those things that you just mentioned is actually really a difficult issue, is that when a traumatic brain injury happens or an acquired brain injury happens, traumatic being something that happens external that affects your brain, acquired is something internal, such as a stroke, an aneurysm. We'll be praying for the Silva family, by the way. That's
Yes.
But sadly, a lot of people lose their friends. And so the sense of community is something they've always longed for, but they just can't get. And so one of the things that we do with Hope After Brain Injury, we have a monthly support group that started out with 6 people. And now we have 40 to 50 that come every month. And due to COVID and all that, we did a lot of Zoom. So we have people from all over the world. And so that was really cool. But you're right. I mean, you have to surround yourself with positive people that encourage you and give you hope and that can pour into you. And it's sadly, a lot of people don't know how to do that with somebody that has a brain injury. And family is typically the ones that step up and do that.
Yeah, because
that's absolutely true.
Because you don't, and first of all, most people, and I don't know about the Silva family, but she was healthy.
Yeah.
She was healthy. She was living her life, and this, in one split second, Dr. Dina, one split second, their life got turned upside down, and I vividly remember life in the ICU. Like, I wrote this, I'm so upset because I wrote this story. My father was in ICU for 2 weeks, and I would, he was incubated, so I was writing. I was there 24/7. My job was wonderful. They let me work from there. And, as I was sitting there, I was writing and writing, and I wrote about the way that ICU changes your life. Like I wish that everybody would just take a few moments and visit an ICU unit or a rehabilitation unit or an end of life unit to really understand the power in life, and how fragile life is, and how blessed we are to be able to live. Even though life is hard, we're blessed to have these moments, and we get to choose. That was something that I saw on that program that I watched last night. We get to choose what we want to do, and the choices are hard, right? Because I'm a single parent, and I've always needed to work, and I battle God. I have arguments with God. I really fight with God, because I'm like, you want me to do this, but yet I need to do that. So what do you want me to do, oh Lord? You know, so I, you know, when I do, I get it, and I fight with God. I mean, sometimes like I really have battles with him. He always wins, but I always, but you know, but on the flip side, I know that he wants you to get that fire in you. He wants you to have a passion for what you're doing. He wants you to have that, you know. So there's choices in life. There's choices in life.
Mhm. And you know, another thing that we do is so much fun is about once a quarter, we'll rent out a movie theater, and we'll have anybody, and we have to have, I think we can do like 50 to 75 people, and we watch a movie and have dinner. And so it helps build that social skills, you know, build that back, and then create more community. And it is so much fun. We have so much fun doing that. And so, you know, if those that are listening and watching, find a support group that understands brain injury, and you will find a lifeline. You really will. And if you need help, you just email me. I'll be happy to find you somebody.
What's your email address so they could?
So my email is, well, just go on the website,
Okay.
hopeafterbraininjury.org, and then you can email me from there.
Yeah, we'll have everything listed on the bottom of our YouTube, just so
You know,
people can click.
Renee, I'm thinking that it would be a great idea to hook up Dr. Deanna with Nicole Yates in Australia.
We should
I think I'm
have.
going to do that.
Yeah, we should do a prayer show, you know, with Nicole and Dina, Dr. Dina, and Dr. Jim, and let's Judy, can you set that up for
Yes,
us?
I will.
Yeah.
Deanna, I just wanted you to know that
And Patty
Nicole,
as well.
right,
yeah.
and Nicole was 16 and decided to ride her motorcycle to a game that her friends were going to. Even though she could have had a ride, she wanted to take her motorcycle, and she wore a dark jacket on a rainy night. And when she approached a roundabout, the lights went out on her motorcycle, and she got hit and dragged by a car, and she also died a couple of times. And today, she was 16 when it happened. And also they were saying to her mother that she's not going to make it, or she's going to be a vegetable, and you should donate her organs. And her mother said, absolutely no way. And today, I don't know her exact age, I'd say in her 40s, she is a counselor, and she is so full of energy. She would be great with Patty, I'm telling you.
Yes. And she and her mother did it through the power of prayer.
Yeah.
Her mother prayed, you know, the same way that they prayed outside of St. Joseph's Hospital.
Yeah.
Her mother did the same thing.
She wouldn't take no for an answer.
Wouldn't take no for
Whatever
an
they said, the answer was, we're moving ahead.
Yeah.
She's going to get better.
Yeah. It was, yeah, we got to do a show like that. That's good. So
yes,
Dr. Dina, so let's backtrack a little bit. How did you get into this field? Like, how did you begin? Like, what were your goals and objectives, you know, as somebody going through college, and then how did your life switch?
You know, it's interesting. It makes a difference generations prior, doesn't it? We're all standing on somebody's shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And my mom's family were all in the medical field, and my dad's family were all in the ministry. And so I thought I would be a nurse, but yeah, I don't do blood, so that's out. And so ended up being a therapist and started working in hospitals because my mom, of course, you know, said, hey, you start young. And so I was in hospitals at 18, but my focus was always on mental health. So of course they're like, well, lead this group and lead this group. So anyway, fast forward, I went and got my bachelor's in psychology, and I have 2 master's degrees in counseling and education. And my specialty has been trauma. In 1995, some of you will remember the Oklahoma City bombing.
oh,
And
yes.
I was called to be a first responder for that. Well, I didn't know how to do that. So my training was a 3-hour drive from Dallas to Oklahoma City. And one of the Secret Service men, I was assigned to his family and his church and the St. Anthony's Hospital, who took care of the pediatric ICU, took care of the kiddos, and that were hurt in that injured in that bombing. So a friend of mine, his name is Harold Elliott, is actually a cousin of Patty Foster, and
Oh,
he taught me how to be a chaplain and all of these kind of things. So I volunteered with different police departments. Patty had asked Harold and I to be on her radio program, and so we did that. I got married, and then 2002, Patty had that horrific accident, and we were reconnected through Harold in 2008. And that was one of the first times that Patty was able to sit down and talk about what a TBI was, or traumatic brain injury. And I had never heard that. And her story was so powerful to me. And just talking to her one on one, God said to me in my heart, He said, "You're going to do that the rest of your life." And so I started learning all I could about traumatic brain injury. And what I found was that at that time, not many people knew what it was, and certainly no therapists or counselors, as what I've been doing for years and years. And so I started Hope After Brain Injury, and we are, as you mentioned, the only nonprofit. But our goal is to help people, encourage them along the way, educate them, and equip them. This is coping skills. This is how you
Right.
can help. And then my heart is to help also the therapist, because you can't. It's not the same thing as dealing, all your schooling was great, but this is a whole nother ball game. And so Patty was telling me in that second meeting that she was speaking. I said, "Well, that's wonderful." And I said, "Who goes with you?" And she said, "Oh, I go by myself, or my mom takes me or goes with me." And I was like, a speaker's job should only be to speak. That should be your main focus. And I said, "If you'll have me," and I already had worked with another speaker, and Pam Rosewell Moore. I had worked with her about 7 years, and I traveled when I wasn't working. And I said, "If you'll have me, I'll, please join me, or let me join you." We did that. And then when I started Hope After Brain Injury, and we got invited to all these different organizations like the International Brain Injury Association and loads others, I brought Patty on. And so I said I would give the research or the stuff that I knew clinically, and then she would come in and tell her story.
Right.
And you talk about a powerful ending.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of, we've been going great guns since.
Wow. And how do you train the nurses? Like, because you're right, there are people, if they haven't experienced it prior, I mean, they've got to be shocked as well. So
Yeah.
how do you train them as well?
One of the most important things I tell all of my brain injury survivors, you are this world's best kept secret, because you have the skills to survive better than anybody else. You're twice as smart as the rest of us, because you lived, you died, so to speak, and then you learn to relive again. And so what I tell clinicians is, just because they don't process as fast doesn't mean their IQ is low.
Right.
And that is a huge thing, because so many times people misunderstand the slowness, and it's just the processing speed. That's all it is. And then I share with them that if you'll find out who they were before, just gently kind of bring them back to that. And Patty taught me this early on, and it has been so helpful. Many times, especially with a frontal lobe injury, there's a lot of anger that comes out and a lot of bad words. And they don't, I didn't know they knew that word. And but they have to realize that's the brain injury speaking. It's not the person, and
Right.
not to take that so personally.
Right. Right.
And
and also most brain injury people, I believe, carry a card with them that said that I have a brain injury, please be patient, or I have aphasia, please be patient, I have trouble speaking, because otherwise it could be very misunderstood, especially if they're stopped by a policeman who thinks maybe they've been drinking.
mm-hmm.
We've had that. I've saw that a number of times, and police officers are people too, like, we're not placing judgment on anybody. But I remember this one time that they thought that this gentleman was drinking or on drugs or whatever, and he actually had a heart attack. He was in a state. So it's so hard. Like, awareness is the biggest thing, and we pray that, that's why we do these shows. I just heard a song on the other day, and I have to look to see who it was. I'm going to post it on my website, on my Facebook page. But the story behind it was that she wrote this story. She lost her father, and her father was her life. She loved her daddy, and like I did mine. And she lost him in, I think, at 10 or 14.
Oh
And
my God.
music was her outlet. So she wrote a song for him, and she just put it on the back burner for a really long time. And then fast forward, she was in the industry and she was singing at the Bluebird, and it spoke to her heart that she needed to sing this song. She never sang it publicly. She had got together with two songwriters and finalized it, since she wrote it when she was very young. And the moral to the story is that one person in that room needed to hear it, that came up to her. And she told her story, that it was because her dad died and passed away, and she didn't know how to channel it, and she didn't know how to find herself. And that person came up to her and thanked her at the end. And at that moment, she knew that no matter how hard this song was for her to sing, if it was going to help other people, then that was what she needed to do. And it was the same thing with me with doing the shows. I never had any hosting experience. I mean, I was a singer, I was an entertainer. And it's so funny because when I worked at the Wanakee Reserve, which was a blessing for me to work at, it's an active adult community. I was a lifestyle director, Judy on the Love Boat. And and this woman, Gloria, who was connected and she could see, and she had, she prayed and stuff like that. She came into the clubhouse one day. I'll never forget this. And it was like, did you ever see like a movie where everything stops around you and only the two people that are standing there are talking? Well, that's how it was. That's exactly how it was. The whole world had stopped around us and we were standing there together. And she said to me, remember this, you can sing, but your music's not going to be your channel. Your speaking is. And I said, no, are you crazy? I'm a singer. I'm an entertainer. And fast forward, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. I'm hosting, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And I had no idea, but, I just said, okay, let's go. And it was Bobby Baby Walker, who also had 3 or 4 strokes.
I think he had about 5.
Yeah, he's on our board, and he's the one that kind of navigated me to get into this.
So Renee, when your thought was just to do telethons, and you went to Madhouse TV Studios, he's the one who said, you got to do a talk show before you can do a telethon.
I was over here talking to
Tommy,
Janine and Tommy about doing the telethon, because a few weeks prior I was on Tommy's show, and of course I said, I'm going to do that. I was rattled at that time. I'm going to do telethon. I'm going to do this. And I said, you want to be the master of ceremony? And Tommy said, well, maybe. And I said, well, maybe is not a no. It's like, let me hear some more stuff, So I was talking to Tommy, and Bobby's over here. We'll do a show once a week. Yeah, we'll drive to Long Island every single week. I live in New Jersey. It takes an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half to get to Long Island.
And he lived in the Bronx.
$30 a day going and coming, because, that's what the tolls are, going over the George Washington Bridge. And I'm like, are you crazy, Bobby? And the truth was that
you need to do the show.
We needed to do the show to be able to keep talking and finding guests, and the way that Judy found, connected you, and now you're going to be on a telethon. And so anyway, so that was 7 years ago. We've been
See
doing
the
it.
way it all worked out.
Oh my God, it was incredible. So back to Dr. Dina, who is the guest. So you started working with Patty, and she does these velvet. What's your goals moving forward? Like, what do you want to see? Because I have visions for our foundation. Like, I really want to broadcast to more audiences. We're working with another network that we may go on, and I actually, there's something with clothing we're doing, which we'll talk to you about later on. So there's a lot of visions that we want to happen, but what is it that your vision for your organizations are?
Well, I'll tell you, we do this annual conference that we absolutely love, and we partner with local hospitals that work in brain injury. So that's been a huge uh, experience and just fun, and so wonderful to connect with people. And what you and Judy were just talking about really is about relationship. And relationship, if you can create and develop and keep, that sort of is your fuel as you go forward. And so one of the things that Patty has brought up that I think is worth pursuing, and we need to do it, we will do it, is the Family Navigator program, whereby when somebody is diagnosed with a brain injury in the ER, they automatically get partnered with somebody, a family member that's already been through it. And so we'll help them navigate through. And then the other part of what we're doing right now in the development stage is creating continuing education courses for counselors on how to work with brain injury.
Wow.
So those are the two big ones. Patty's just finishing her children's book, and I'm contributing to a book by Routledge, is the publisher out of London. And so I'll be finishing up that chapter. And so we're just writing and speaking and doing the next thing that
Wow, that's
presented to us.
incredible. It's so funny because we have the same vision. One of our vision is we talked to Dr. Beculus. He's out of, what hospital is he out of?
Good Samaritan Hospital in
Samaritan
Iceland.
Hospital. Yeah, Jim loves him as well. He's one of our partners. He really he's changing the course for Brit. We would love to connect you to him. He is a great guy.
That's a great
And
idea.
yeah, and we actually said the same thing to him about wanting to have, when someone suffers a stroke, to call one of us, because we can bring them hope that
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
been through this. We've been through this. Look at us, and nowadays we don't have to be there. We could FaceTime, so we're gonna continue that conversation when we'll bring you into the loop with Dr. Beculus, because you could take care of brain traumas and we could take care of strokes, and we really, and I love him because he never says no. He never says, like, most hospitals, I believe, are very structured, and that's not a bad thing. But with Dr. Beculus, he never says no. He's always open for change, to better. His main vision is to really better the lives, the people. He really is a people person. He's a great guy. We'll send you some of our shows. We actually just did what was it? Continuing the conversation. We just did it like our first annual back in May. And it was very powerful. I'll send you the link for that. It was so powerful. It was so powerful that, like you said, we've made all these contacts. I think we had like 50 people, maybe 40 or 50 of the doctors, and everything was on there. And and to me, it was just like, look what we've done. Look what we've done. And look what it takes to when someone suffers something. Look what it takes. It takes family. It takes
We explored every avenue
yeah, I
of
mean,
what,
it takes recovery, it takes ambulance, it takes, like every single, we had acupuncturists, we had a whole thing. I mean, it was so powerful, so powerful. And Dr. Beculus was the one. We were actually 2 years ago gonna do it from his hospital. He was gonna let us broadcast. Could you imagine that? He was gonna
Wow, look
let
at that.
my TV
in the
show
conference room.
come in and broadcast from his, I mean, like, amazing.
And then we had the COVID and that.
But everything happens for a reason. I think it was probably better because um Zoom is a great thing. Look, we have you on the show today. You didn't have to come to the studio, you know. So some of the stuff that has happened because of COVID, um, we're not downplaying COVID at all. It's devastating, but some of the new lights that have come up and new seeds that have planted and people being innovated is a wonderful thing.
We've been able to connect with the entire world.
Yeah, yeah.
And get guests from the entire world.
Yeah. Do you do any, you do it through Zoom, right? I mean, I know you're doing this, but do you do any keynote speaking or speaking engagements through Zoom?
We've done a few, last year we did. But we've noticed that things are opening back up. In September, we'll be going to Orlando to speak to the American Association of Christian Counselors. And so we're going to have an opportunity to share with them. So we do both. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm so thankful for Zoom because it helps you still do your passion. It's still an avenue,
Yeah, it was incredible. So before we we'll circle back and everything, Jim, can you hop on for 2 seconds? He's got to put up his,
He's doing a great job.
I am hopped.
Hi, Jim.
I'm here. Hello.
So I just want to thank you for partnering with us. We're partners now. We used to, hire you as the back end, but now we've been together for so long that Jim is such a giving person that he partnered with us. So we're very blessed to have that. So, but I want you to talk about your coupons.
Oh, okay.
Because we connected, we partner in coupons, and Jim has a wonderful way to use coupons online, and our foundation will benefit from it as well. So go ahead, Jim.
Right. So basically it's where I live, we have these books, community coupons. They come in a little booklet. They got the glue on the side. And I've been in advertising for like 30 years now. I had a magazine, and this coupon book, they always get my customers. They always kept getting my customers, and it used to really get to me. So I was thinking of different ways to do coupons. I tried printing them the same way, but I came out with this idea to have them on your phone. So basically,
nice.
Everyone who has money has a phone. And they used to say back in the day that these coupon books, women carry them in their purse. No, they didn't. But they carry a phone. So so basically, the coupons come on the phone, and you can share them. You can get directions to the location. You can call them. You can go to their website. All different bells and whistles that you can't do with a paper coupon. And the greatest thing that you can do is you can share them. So the way it's designed is we can get coupons on this site from anywhere in the country. You sign up, and the coupon goes on, and it goes on a map. So if someone's in that area, it's going to show up on their map.
Nice.
So it's kind of neat. We're partnered with Renee and Stroke of Luck, and basically she's going to head up my Jersey area. Hopefully we'll get some business in Jersey, and that's it. It's been fun. It's exciting.
Awesome. It's great idea.
Yeah, and the truth is that you're helping yourself, you're helping us, you're giving back. So I just love the idea of working and partnering and just giving. When you buy something, you want to be also giving to someone or something, like Amazon Smiles. I don't know if you guys are part of Amazon Smiles, but we're part of Amazon Smiles. That if you go to Amazon Smiles and put our organization or your organization, do you do Amazon Smiles as well, Dina? Dr.
Yes,
Dina?
absolutely.
Yeah. So, you could choose one of us. I just think if you're buying from Amazon, you should choose an organization
Yes.
to give to,
Yes.
whatever speaks to your heart, because Amazon is out there and they're willing to do it. So why not use it?
Yeah.
Why buy stuff without helping someone? So that's our goal. So thank you, Jim. Thank you so
Yes.
much. You could
Thank
stay on
you.
though.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna round up because Brooke Allen, who is a wonderful Judy, can you give a little information on our next show?
Yeah, as soon as I get my glasses.
She had a stroke.
Brooke suffered her stroke at the age of 38 on September 4th, 2018. Her immediate symptoms were a horrible stomach pain, and she went to the hospital ER, and they told her they thought it was kidney stones. Later that day, her speech became garbled. She went to bed for a while, and when she woke up and went to the bathroom, she fell down. Could not scream to her husband for help, and her leg was unable to move. Her husband heard her fall. Her husband, Dan, heard her fall and discovered she was having a stroke, and he called 911. Brooke will discuss her time in the hospital, her 5 weeks of rehab, including occupational, physical, and speech therapies, and her amazing recovery. 3 years have passed, and Brooke Allen is a volunteer as a social ambassador for the American Heart Association and help with the Stroke Heart Walk and the Women's Go Red. She attends stroke meetings once a month in Boise and leads a once a month session in Nampa. Brooke meets with aphasia warriors every Wednesday at the Idaho Aphasia Center. And during spring and summer and fall semesters, she goes to ISU to help with students with aphasia. Brooke participates in virtual connections, classes on Zoom. They are free with poems, aphasia, choir, and book clubs. Every Monday, she's involved in the International Aphasia Movement and has also met once with the Aphasia Association. We're proud to announce she is the secretary of her local Toastmasters. Brooke is really into being healthy and goes to the gym on a regular basis. She recently was awarded a Lifestyle Change Award from the American Stroke Association.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And you know what the truth is that Judy just does a remarkable job in finding really, like, each story that we have on the show is just precious. It's perfect. Judy, we couldn't do the show would not be what it is without you.
That's
It
true.
won't be what it is. So thank you so much, Dr. Dina. We're so happy to have you in our family and to have Patty in our family and to really, whatever we can do to help you and Patty to get the word out and to move along, we're in.
Thank
So,
you. We'll do the same. We're going to add you to our website. And is there a particular link that you would like me to use for y'all?
I'll send it to you. It
Okay.
should be ReneMarie's languageoflove.org.
Okay.
But
Got it.
well, Judy will send it to you just so you
Okay.
have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to call you about something. I've got now 4 friends in Dallas. 2 of them are you and Patty.
Oh, yay.
So we're
I've got to
gonna
visit Dallas.
Yes, you do. Come on now.
Okay, so we're gonna we always blow kisses, Dr. Dina, but we want to thank everybody for joining us today. This conversation is just beginning. We're so blessed to have had Dr. Dina on the show today. What a perfect guest for today after Marianne Silva. And we hope that everybody will keep Marianne Silva in their prayers. We're dedicating this show to her. God just told me to say that. So we're dedicating this show to her. And we hope that the power in that prayer, spreads through the world. So on 3, we're going to thank you, Judy. Thank you, Jim, in the studio. And on 3, we always blow our kisses. You ready?
Okay,
1,
I'm ready.
2, 3. Bye, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
God bless you all.
Mi amor, mi amor, mi amor, mi amor. Yo no entiendo por qué tú más que nadie sabes qué pasó en mi vida, mi vida. Yo no sé qué tú piensas. Yo no sé lo que haré. Yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo. Yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. El día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. Mi corazón está vacío, como si tuviera ayer. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. Usted está en mi sueño por la noche. Por favor, no peleemos. Y es tan difícil para mí y para ti. Yo, ¿qué puedo hacer? No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír, no me puedes escuchar. No me puedes escuchar llorar, llorar. No me puedes escuchar.